Hello and welcome to my channel, and today we are talking about buzzwords. If you don't know what a buzzword is, it is basically a word or a phrase that when associated with a piece of media, whether books, video games, TV series, movies, anything like that, when it's associated with those things, you immediately become intrigued by. So say you hear the word silver, and for some reason that word intrigues you specifically. That would be a buzzword for you. So it doesn't matter what form of media it's in, if that word itself intrigues you and you immediately want to pick up that piece of media because that word is described, that would be considered a buzzword. I know that's such a random word to use, but it's the first thing that popped into my head. So I'm pretty much surrounded by books that all in some way, shape, or form involve my buzzword. The buzzword doesn't necessarily have to be in the title, as long as it is used to associate or used in association with the piece of media, then it counts. Let's start with one that I think is pretty common for bookworms specifically, but any word that is used to describe books or associated with books. So like library, the Library of the Unwritten, which is about a library set in hell. The Book of Cthulhu, which is a collection of stories following the myth of Cthulhu. The Book Jumper, about a young girl who discovers that she can jump into books and be a part of the story. The Book Thief, about a young girl, which is told in the perspective of death, from the perspective of death, and she steals books. It's a lot more complicated than that, but I don't know if I have the heart to go into it. The Story of Silence, I know I have a bookmark in it. Story of Silence, which is following a non-binary knight trying to figure out their identity. Really, anything involving books, I feel like that is a fairly common word, or fairly common buzzword in the bookish community. Once you hear it, obviously, it's something that you're attracted to. One of my favorite buzzwords, which I don't think I have anything for right now, is star. Anything with the word star in it. I picked up Stars in the Blackness Between Them. I'm sure there are more, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. That same vein is moon. Daughter of the moon goddess specifically is one that comes to mind. First of all, look at that cover. Beautiful. This follows a young girl who is the daughter of the moon goddess. I think her mother ends up getting in trouble one day, and she's forced to flee from her home because her mother's exiled and she's not supposed to have anybody with her. So before she can be found out, she ends up having to flee from the moon, where she's lived her whole life. Also, the word sea. So I'm double dipping with this one because it is called the Dark Moon Shallow Sea, and the only thing that I know about this, first of all, maybe I should consider goddess too, because that seems to be another word that pops up a lot. Because it says, the only reason that I picked this up is because it says, when Phoebe, goddess of the moon, is killed by the knights of the sun god, all who follow her are branded heretics. And that's why I ended up picking this up. And look at the cover. But yeah, two buzzwords in one. And speaking of the word sea, we have Tress of the Emerald Sea, which is one that I picked up because A, everybody's talking about it, B, the magic word seems to be there. This one is very specific. But the word hell seems to be one that, okay, I shouldn't say specifically the word hell, because I don't think the word itself is what intrigues me, but when things are set in hell, that's what intrigues me. So for example, Hell Pie is a video game Benson and I played a few years ago at PAX East that immediately caught my attention because you're playing as like a demon in hell who's trying to create the perfect pie. Also, Sign here follows, like, you're following the perspective of a guy who works in hell who's trying to steal the souls of this family. Or The Library of the Unwritten, which I mentioned, is about a library set in hell. And then along the same lines, but not quite, because it's not set in hell, but she sells her soul to the devil. So I think we can count The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue for this one as well. This one is very specific, but it's goblin. And this is one that I didn't realize that I had until kind of recently. But for example, the Goblin Emperor. I also think this buzzword might stem from Labyrinth because of the Goblin King. So it seems like that's a buzzword for me. At least I think so. I also did read Winter Song a long time ago. I didn't like it, but it intrigued me because it had the words the Goblin King in it. Very, very specific is Wonderland. This is, even though I don't always love retellings, this is one that when used to describe anything, I'm automatically intrigued by. For example, in terms of games, Alice's Madness Returns. Though the Wonderland is not in the title, the world she is in is Wonderland. And it was one of my favorite games when I was playing it. I think I did get stuck on like a specific part, so I just never ended up like completing the game, but it was one of my favorite games at the time that is set in a dark and twisted, interesting land of Wonderland. So obviously we have Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, obviously one of my favorite classics, one of my favorite children's classics of all time. Wonderland, a collection of short stories set in Wonderland. Same thing with Mad Hatter and March Hares, a collection of short stories set in Wonderland. Unbirthday, which is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland set in the Twisted Tales series, begging the question, what if Wonderland was in peril and Alice was very, very late? One of my favorite, and definitely one of my most intrigued, like the buzzword that will intrigue me the most when I hear it, is fairy tales. So I have quite a few fairy tale collections. This one is the Hans Christian Andersen book of fairy tales. We have the Little Book of Irish Fairy and Folk Tales, the classic Grimm's Fairy Tales, Beauty and the Beast, and other classic fairy tales. And I'm sure I have more. But along that vein, I also love fairy tale retellings. Now, I don't always love retellings. Sometimes retellings scare me. But I'm still usually very intrigued by the thought of retellings. So like Raven and the Reindeer is... Actually, I think The Snow Queen is probably my favorite fairy tale. It's definitely up there as one of my favorite fairy tales, like in book form. If that makes, I think that makes sense. And this is a retelling of The Snow Queen. Geekerella is a retelling of Cinderella set in the modern world. I think The Wolf and the Woodsman is a retelling. Actually, hold on. We're gonna go back one buzzword and talk about like how fairy tales are a buzzword. Also, any book, like even if it's not just collections of fairy tales, but any book that is inspired by like a fairy tale land, so not necessarily a retelling, but like books set with characters. So like I can't reach it right now because it's all the way across. It's like next to the bed and I can't, I have small arms. But the Sisters Grimm series, which is set in a fantasy world that like includes a bunch of fairy tale characters, and Land of Stories, which includes a bunch of fairy tale characters, or like fictional characters as a whole, like anything where like fictional fantasy characters come to life. So like Disney Dreamlight Valley, where it's not necessarily fairy tale characters, but it's but it's Disney characters, fictional characters that you grew up with and you loved and like, and you know, things like that. Well, okay. And then lastly, I think this is probably going to be like a very short video, but I'm sure I have more. Right, the last one that I actually have books for is circus. It is definitely my top favorite buzzword. It's the thing that automatically gets me intrigued into any piece of media. Once I hear the word circus, I'm hooked. I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna watch it, I'm gonna play it. I don't care. Obviously starting this with The Night Circus, which is the book that got me back into reading. It's the book that got me back into reading, and I absolutely adore it. And I don't know if it had the word circus in it. I don't know if I ever would have picked it up. Where Dreams Descend doesn't have the word circus in it, but it is about a circus and and I think it's like a competition between some of the people that are in the circus. I haven't read this one yet. I really need to get to it though. And The Ladies of the Secret Circus, which is another one that I have not read. You know, for someone that loves the word circus so much, I sure don't read a lot of books involving them. Do I? Those are the ones that automatically come to mind, though I know for a fact that I have more. I think Pirates. Pirates is definitely one. I don't think I have a lot of pirate books, at least not physically, but I think I do have some on my Kindle. Pirates is like an automatic buzzword for me. Puppets, I think that, Puppets is another one, which I do have a couple of books involving puppets, like specifically Night of Cake and Puppets was one. I mean, I picked it up because it's part of the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, but it has the word puppet in it. Let's see. The Shadow Glass involves puppets. It's very Labyrinth inspired, The Dark Crystal inspired. In the Lives of Puppets, which is a Pinocchio retelling. Okay, I hope this video isn't too short. I know for a fact I have more buzzwords, but I really just wanted to share some of my favorite buzzwords with you. Words that will automatically make me intrigued in anything. So if you know any piece of media that has these words in it or involves these words in any way, please let me know down in the comments below, and let me know some of your buzzwords because they may come in handy in some future videos. I do have a ton of vlog and video plans involving this specific category. Be sure to hit that like button if you like this video, and subscribe if you want to see more from me, as well as Benson, who's a frequent member on this channel. I will leave all of their links down in the description box below, as well as links to my social media if you want to get any more updates from me. But until then, mwah, goodbye.